Hi, everyone. Welcome to Not a Lonely Coffee Break. We are your hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Megan.
We are so excited that the day is finally here where we can share this with all of you. We've been planning it for I don't even know how long now. And it finally morphed into what it is, a podcast about
Mm-hmm.
coffee and work,
At work.
but make it
But
queer.
make it quick.
We thought
Welcome
today
all.
we would introduce you to us, a little bit about how we know each other, how we're connected, our history, and what brought
Yeah, if you
this.
thought you knew us before, you're gonna really know us now.
Right?
So
Yeah.
get excited.
We thought we would start off by sharing with you guys how we came to our name. We did have a little survey, so thank you to everyone who did participate in
We
that
appreciate all of
survey.
you.
We are
Yes.
really thankful for all of you guys. We had already kind of settled on a name that we were gravitating more, but you guys just helped us confirm that it was, in fact, a good name.
Yeah. We were in a bit of a choice paralysis, I guess, There's just so many choices, and then AI just like gets you down that rabbit hole.
Oh,
So thanks
AI.
everybody. But there's
Yeah.
a lot to a name. Okay, so we're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
into that. Why not a lonely coffee break? I think the biggest thing is the whole thing about this podcast is that we're here as friends
Mm-hmm.
and we're here to share, learn, build confidence, acceptance. It's about, we're not just going to be talking about crummy work all the time, but, let's really engage with what's going on locally with the LGBTQ community and how we can really gather strength in the workplace with so that we can feel more comfortable, or maybe employers that they don't feel as confident as how to engage with their LGBTQ employees and team members. And maybe you're just trying to see, hey, how can I be a better ally? So this just isn't for queer people, right?
Yeah, this podcast really is for anyone, and for everyone. And we did come on this name because we did want something that was a little bit more personal to us. I think when we started playing with this idea of coffee and breaks, we both got really excited
Hmm.
because it did have such a special meaning to us. Not to mention that the name is super cute. And we
Sure.
established really cute logo. I felt like once we came up with the name, everything else just like fit
Just fell
in.
right into place.
But Megan and I have known each other for I think probably about 5 years now.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
5 glorious
I
years.
know. And we worked together, so we were coworkers for about a year. And Megan knows this because we've had many conversations about this, but for me personally, it was one of those it was, the connection I made with Megan was probably the best part of that
Oh,
experience for me, was just meeting you, bonding with you, and having you
yeah.
as a coworker.
And that's what makes
Um,
work fun.
yeah.
We're getting into this. I think a lot of people would agree, especially in our, generation, is that work just doesn't have to be drilling down, making that money. Like we want to
Mhm.
enjoy the time that we're spending here, right? And so
Mhm.
really working with Maddie was we were a duo, very hard to separate. And if you separated us, things just did not go well.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
We just two brains locked it in. So yeah, no, and those 2 years, the year going into it, what really why the coffee break, is that it was during COVID. You gross, right?
Mhm.
I hate saying it.
I
But
know,
yes, it
gross.
was during COVID. And we were on separate floors in our
Oh,
tiny little
I
offices.
know. Yeah, it was a huge building and there was not that many staff, and Megan and I were on different floors.
Yeah. We'd be like,
We would like call each other in our offices even though we could yell out
yeah, just have
and
little
hear the echo.
conversations. So when we got to that point where we were just like fried, we're like, okay, it's time to get some air. So we would walk across the street to an unnamed coffee place. We won't go into that. No free ads. And we would talk. We would chit chat about life, work, ideas, the world, what's going on. And I think it really helped us thrive in our work and made us feel more comfortable because once we were comfortable with each other,
Hmm.
that's when we created the best ideas, projects, networked better, because we really were like, you know what? We know each other. We're friends, yes, but we can be coworkers and truly accept each other with who we are. It was good times. So those coffee
No,
breaks were a lifesaver.
no, I agree. I think sometimes our best ideas would come from those coffee breaks.
Hmm.
Some of our best brainstorms. It was a challenging workplace. We had a lot of things going on around us. There was just a lot of changes. Megan mentioned it
Changes.
was COVID. So
Hmm.
that was a change in itself, like the whole workplace structure. We had changing people, changing environments, changing of
Responsibilities.
ideas
Yep.
of what work looked
Hmm.
like. And so there was just a lot of ups and downs. It was truly a unique experience for sure.
Hmm.
But having the support from Megan and like being able to just walk and get coffee, really at any point in the day, because we would go like even late in the afternoon
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I really shouldn't have been having caffeine
I
at
know.
that time of the
We
day, but
There were some times that we were like, do we really need coffee? But it wasn't really even about the coffee. It was about
hmm.
being able to vent to my friend and my
Hmm.
coworker about things that were going on. Um, and really kind of talk with someone who was experiencing similar things and was kind
Right.
of in the thick of it. Just to me, it was like that support. It made that whole experience feel a little less lonely.
And so
Um,
here today, we're sharing not a lonely coffee break.
yes.
Bow, 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 bow.
Yes.
So Maddie, what are we going to talk about? Like, what's our goal? Why are these people listening to us?
We're going to talk about, I think, a little bit of everything. We're going to be talking with each other, but we also are hoping to bring in friends, allies, members of the community. We want to highlight the work going on here in our community. Megan and I are in Texas,
Texas.
Dallas to be specific. We want to make sure we highlight the awesome things that are happening in this community, but we also want to use it as a way to celebrate certain individuals and the accomplishments that are going on around us. So, yes, we want it to kind of be an uplifting place, but we also want to make sure that we're talking about those tough things, right?
Hmm.
It's important to acknowledge that there is a lot of workplace discrimination. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of toxicity in the workplace
Hmm.
that we are not okay with. We're not here
Absolutely
for
not.
any of that.
None of it.
But we really do want this to be like a space where we can maybe all heal a little bit together.
I'm down for the
Um,
healing vibes. And I think that because hopefully we have people listening from all across the United States because the United States is ginormous, but Texas, I think for most, knows that we've got some LGBTQ issues going on here that,
mhm,
really need to be spoken out. And Texas is huge, real big. So
mhm,
there's so many different types of people, cultures, ideas, and I'd say, I mean, it's a smorgasbord of things going on that we really want to dive deep and see what all sorts of LGBTQ folks are dealing with, allies who may want to do more but want to build the courage to do so. And the people that we're going to bring on are going to give us those tools to do that. And then also we'll be, gossiping a little bit, getting down into the weeds of what's the current events of our time.
mhm.
We are going into an election year, so I think it's going to get pretty hairy. So
Oh,
we'll have plenty to
yes.
talk about, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But we do hope that, through the conversations that we have here, and the different perspectives that are shared. Megan and I, it's really important to us that we include as many voices as possible because we are not the experts in all of
Absolutely not.
this, but we felt like, we needed to have a space to talk about this, to sort of try to put an end to this nation, this toxic culture that's in so many workplaces. Sometimes it's even surprising. I don't know, Megan, I don't know about you, but sometimes people will tell me about what's going on at their workplace, and then I ask them where they work, and I'm like, "For real? There?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, really?" And they're like, "Oh,
Why?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awful."
Yeah.
And we gotta talk about it.
It's about, it's not just about doing it during specific times or
Mhm.
just when we have those trainings that remind us. This is something that we need to be more conscious of, intentional, and that intentionality comes from repetition, sharing, and making sure that we're you know, voicing out our concerns when it is a time for concerns. Yeah, I'm really excited
Mhm.
about this, Maddie. It's going to be good.
Yeah, can't talk about coffee without discussing the perfect brew. So, what's your favorite kind of coffee?
Well, I'm a daily drinker. Yes. And I like the one in a red can with the black top. Again, no free
No
ads.
free, no free
You'll
ads.
have to go to the store and figure it out yourself. And it's a good medium roast with some creamer, not too much, just 2 spoons, and boom, it's perfect. That's it. I don't need no sugar. Sometimes I'll add some honey, some cinnamon to make things interesting. But yeah, I'm pretty basic in that way.
I like that honey
Yeah.
and cinnamon.
It's
That
pretty
adds a
chill.
like a little spice to it, maybe.
Yeah, just and it's, the honey is good for allergies. Cinnamon, I don't know
Hmm.
what it does, but I'm sure it's good for you.
I'm sure. I mean,
Uh,
tasty. I do know that honey is good for allergies, though, for sure.
mhm. Get that local honey, y'all.
Hmm.
So, what about you, Maddie? I mean,
So
what
I'm
kind
the
of coffee
same.
do you
I'm
like?
a daily coffee drinker. I do like to start my day off with coffee. I'm okay with like the medium roast, but I do tend to gravitate towards more lighter roast. I'm pretty flexible as long as I have my creamer. There
But
has to be creamer. My wife likes to joke with me that I like a little bit of coffee with my creamer.
you're one of
Um,
those.
yeah, I'm one of those. It does have to be a pretty light colored coffee, but I still need to be able to taste coffee in it.
It gets the job done at the end of the
It
day.
gets the job
It
done at
gets
the
the
end
jobs
of the
done. All
day.
right. Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, Maddie, what did you like? What drove you to like help people? Like, what is your drive to like really want to do this? And
So, well, I'm a social worker
okay,
by
okay,
profession. So, I think that's where that desire to help people comes from. I guess in terms of this project of ours, this fun little time that we want to have together. I think it's, we touched just recently about that we kind of went through this work situation together. But it's important, I think, for me to acknowledge that was a rough time in my life and there was a
right,
lot of stuff going on and I was not in a good place. My mental health was really bad.
okay,
And I've always had this desire to help people. I've always worked
hmm
with kids in the nonprofit space, but going through all of those changes, all of those experience, sort of my passion evolved into I really wanted to help people reach their full potential in their workplaces.
mm-hmm.
Um, find that voice. So, I mean, I've always wanted to help people find their voice and empower them. And so this is just sort of the latest way that it is showing up. But but yeah,
No, I
it's my
mean,
social work background. I like to help people.
oh, yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, like we're working 8 to 10 hours a day in
Mhm.
this place, and it's a huge chunk of our life, you know? And so finding that center where you can enjoy your work and feel confident in it and satisfaction from it. You know, you don't want to get to the end of your life and you're just kind of like, well, that sucked.
Mhm.
You know, where did I find joy? So I think that, hey guys, there's work can be crummy, but you can find joy in it. We just got to
Mhm.
find that center. And
Yeah,
I
and
think a lot of our
it's
people will help us get there.
yeah, it's something it was kind of hard because I had worked in the nonprofit space for 10 years, and that's where I always thought I was going to be. I was like, yeah, this is me. This is me. But going through all of that, and you know, Megan knows me maybe in a way that some of our listeners do not know me unless you're my wife. She knows me the best. But Megan knows like my heart with all of this. And I did have to go through a lot of healing to get to this point. And it took me a minute to kind of move past some of that and get back on track in terms of I want to help people. But as a queer woman, I've climbed the ladder at least within the nonprofit space. I
Yeah.
started at the bottom and worked my way into leadership positions. And I endured abuse, mistreatment, and sort of I felt like I was constantly being told that I wasn't good enough
Right.
for things that I knew I was good enough
Yeah,
for because I was already doing them.
absolutely.
But because of my appearance, my age, my identity,
Hmm.
I felt like I was not being taken as seriously.
Yeah.
Or maybe because my perspective was a little bit different. And so I think that that's sort of what drives me into this. I had to re-find that in myself,
Yeah.
and I had to be ready to talk about it before we could pursue this
Hmm.
together.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't really that intentional, but after discussing it, we're just talking about, I mean, I know for me, you know, I know some trans individuals who've had a really hard time, you know, getting into a workspace where they can truly be themselves and feel safe and just do the day to day without having to second guess everything that they're doing or second guess, is this person going to respect my work and, time, ideas, just like the next person. And
Mhm.
when you second guess yourself every single day at a place that you spend the majority of your time at, I mean, it's really hard on the soul and your spirit. And you know, it's that's definitely something we want to touch on, throughout our journey on this show. It's for everyone who may fall into this group that, you know, who may be experiencing something similar. And, honestly, the people that we may bring on this show, they're going to have a spread of different ideas and ways to go through things, but not everything is going to be perfect situation, or you're not going to be
Mhm.
able to use those things in the exact way. So just do things that are good for you in this time. And as things change, other things may work for you better. And same thing for employers, same thing for managers and team members who lead a bunch of people, who want to be leaders in the community, and respecting those ideas and what that looks like on a long term, you know. So that's why it's important to me, because I mean, just seeing, the trans folk that have to deal with the day-to-day discrimination, hate speech, and honestly, just not being able to live their true lives as they want to be is heartbreaking, you know.
This is just, from my perspective. I'm sure it can be very scary,
Hmm.
maybe even a little lonely.
Hmm.
Um, Again, we're in Texas. Megan and I are both in Texas, and we both have people in our lives that are scared
Hmm.
to live their full self. Um, for fear of how they're going to be treated or represented. Megan,
Yes.
what tell us a little bit about your background.
My
What brought you to
background.
this?
to this? Well, that's quite a long story, but I'm gonna zoom through it. So I started off my professional career in fast food. I was at Sonic. Sorry, free ad. But I had to give some explanation for my roller skating skills. So if you ever see me at the
Oh, roller
skate rink, I'm just gonna
skating.
be
I
like,
didn't know you had roller skating skills.
yeah, I brought out those rinks and I was just like, wow, and I'd be hitting cars, sliding under them, falling down, it's great. And then I was like, I'm cool. I want to move on and do something a little bit more. I liked dental, so I got into dental. Don't know why, but I just did. Since 2011, and I've been kind of just working my way up. I went to UTA, got my political science degree, went into nonprofit with Maddie for a little while. Loved it. It's really where my passion lays, is in public service, community service, really just helping out the community and being active and uh, just like you said, helping people and helping programs that really affect a lot of people. So that's a lot of fun. But I was like, you know what? I gotta make some money. So I went into dental and I've worked my way into management. So that's exciting. It is new for me a little bit because I am managing a pretty decent sized team, about 10, 12 people, depending on the day. And yeah, and I think with that, I also have my private passions where I'm like obviously very passionate about LGBTQ folks and honestly human rights and making sure that
Mm-hmm.
everyone has the same opportunities as others. Especially just being a Mexican American, my family coming from Mexico, and we've been based here in Texas for quite some time, but the discrimination's there. That's really where I am in my life, and I love to work. I am an ally. I'd say I do have a little bit of queer in me, but we'll hit on that another day. Uh, but I'd say that
I just want
in
everyone to be gay.
that's the main purpose of this podcast. You should see our business plan.
My
But
notes all say, be queer and love everyone.
yeah, that's it. I mean, presentation done.
Yep.
Okay. But I
Insert
do
sponsor here.
insert LGBTQ sponsor here. Thank you.
Brought to you by some sort of wonderful, supportive sponsor. For real, if you would like to sponsor us, we would love to have you. You can email us at notalonelycoffeebreak@gmail.com. We can put you on a mug.
Get on a mug with us, guys.
Yeah.
These mugs are for sale. We don't have a shop yet, but they will be. Waiting list started. Exclusive purchase on the way.
I got sidetracked, Megan.
It's okay. That's what podcasts are for, really, honestly. But I do come from a pretty conservative background. So I've been to and fro as far as understanding the LGBTQ community. So it's been a journey, but I'm here now, and it's an awesome place. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I too come from a conservative background. Maybe that's a future episode.
We should go, yeah. Episode idea.
Um,
When did you first start drinking your coffee? Because mine goes way back.
I know, mine does too. We should also preface, you guys, we are not encouraging any kind of
Disclaimer.
addiction, but it is important to acknowledge that caffeine can be an addiction for many. It is, honestly, I think it is for me. I definitely have
For
withdrawals
sure. Mm-hmm.
when I don't have caffeine. But I I think when I started drinking coffee also ties into why I like my coffee the way I like it. I started drinking coffee when I was a kid. So I spent some time in my childhood living in Guatemala.
Ooh.
Every Sunday my parents would take us to church. And when we were there, we would be in the little Sunday school classes with all the other kids. And the teacher would be giving the other kids there coffee.
Wow.
Not like a huge glass of coffee. It was like a little, those juice cup sizes that are like
itty bitty.
itty
Yeah.
bitty. Yeah. So it was like that size. But it was definitely coffee. And they weren't drinking black coffee or anything. It was definitely like flavored, mixed with things. But we always felt left out because my mom was like, "No, you're children. You can't be drinking coffee." But we finally convinced her. My siblings and I finally convinced her to let us have some coffee. And so it was like a little bit of coffee with your milk.
Right.
Is really what it was.
Now I'm hearing the root of your issue here. Okay. With your coffee issue, I mean.
Yeah. And so that's really, and I mean, at that point, it wasn't like on a regular basis at this point, but that's definitely probably when I started dabbling in my coffee consumption. And then, of course, as I've gotten older and all of that, it has evolved into the level that it is now, to where I cannot start my day without coffee. What about you?
God. Well, when I was also started when I was a child. I don't even remember what age. I was tiny. It really started like when I used to stay with my grandparents when I was little, and my grandfather liked quiet mornings drinking his coffee, but I'm like rambunctious, tiny Megan, which my cousins were also there. I had several cousins. There's probably 10 children at the house at the time. So this poor man, you know, was trying to get his,
He needed his
he
quiet.
needed his quiet, and his quiet was coffee. Every once in a while, I'd run past him and he'd have his spoon out, and I'd just go, "Wow," and just take a little sip, and then bing, probably wasn't helping the situation much, but and then there was this time we had these little mugs, tiny little mugs. They were probably souvenirs, they weren't
Were they
even
like
supposed
shot glass size? Were you taking like
They
shots
were,
of
but they
coffee?
were coffee, but they were perfect size for tiny Megan, right? So at the time, he would just fill up my cup with my little coffee and just sit there with him. That really, and it became like a tradition, not a tradition, but just our day to day, sitting together with the family, talking, drinking coffee, and just starting our day together. Um, and as I got older, that's kind of how we started our mornings. But as I got older into teenager and adult, it's very much more dark. All the lights are off. Everyone is not talking to each other, and we drink our coffee in silence.
In silence. I like that
In
you made sure to
silence.
in
In
silence.
silence. Yeah, we don't talk to each other until we have at least, a cup and a half.
So do you prefer to drink your coffee in a to-go cup or in a mug?
Mug every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If anyone who's close to me is pretty aware of my mug issues, because I have so many of them, and I'm talking ceramic mugs. So on my way to like when I drive, I'm driving with my mug. No, I do, and then all of a sudden I have 10 coffee mugs in my car. So just clinking, clink, 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 but
Mm-hmm.
it's a problem. Yeah, it's a
No,
problem.
I'm the same way. There's something, it hits a little bit different in a mug.
It does.
Even when I worked at an office, I would bring my coffee in a to-go cup, but I maybe would take like a sip, but I would then transfer it to a mug when I got into the office, just because I don't know, it made it taste different.
Wow.
I think it also brought like this homey vibe to
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
office.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I think it helped my productivity.
You're just like, you feel fancy. Well, I think that's the last of my coffee. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think I've probably had too much today too.
Yeah.
So, that is our cue to wrap up with you guys, but we do want to thank everyone for joining us for our first episode. Yay! We
Yay.
hope
Thank
that
y'all.
you will continue to join us for future episodes, and make sure that you hit all of the subscribe buttons, all of the like buttons, all of the follow buttons.
Send us an
Um,
email. Let
yes.
us know what's going on.
We do want to connect with you guys. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and then you'll also be able to find us on social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we also are going to be found on Patreon, where you also will be able to access some exclusive content as we get
Insiders
going.
only.
So make sure you find us in whatever platform you prefer, whether it's social media, email, not really snail mail. We don't have an address for that nonsense. If you would like to write us a handwritten note, you can always take a picture of it and send it to us on email.
Just scan it in. It'll be fine.
Scan it to us. No, I was gonna say you can fax it to us, but we don't have a fax number either.
If we can get a P.O. box sponsor, that would be great.
So yeah, make sure you're connected with us so that we can also connect with you guys and continue to grow our Not a Lonely Coffee Break community. So
Cheers, y'all.
yes, cheers, and thank you again for joining us for our first episode of Not a Lonely Coffee Break. Again, we are your hosts. I'm Maddie.
I'm Megan.
And we will see you next time.